Welcome to What's on Tap, a video podcast created to keep the hospitality industry connected, engaged, and informed on issues directly affecting our world. We strive to curate authentic conversations with and for the people who make bars and restaurants tick. What's on Tap is powered by TappedIn, a restaurant solutions company that makes operators' lives easier and their businesses more successful. TappedIn can help with anything from websites to QR-driven menus to getting you set up with online ordering and much more. To get tapped today, head over to gettappedin.io. No one looks forward to times of adversity, but we all face difficult challenges at some point in our lives. COVID-19 brought a systemic shock to not only the hospitality industry, but to the entire world this year. As devastating as the pandemic has been to bars and restaurants, it has also been a call for us to innovate, bond together, and solve problems. In this new series, Innovation in the Industry, we will be exploring just that. On this first episode of the series, we explore the massive shift many distilleries underwent in converting their production facilities into hand sanitizer factories to supply the world with this crucial product at a time when we were running dangerously low. We sit down with our good friend Sam Bergren to talk about how Mississippi River Distilling Company got into the hand sanitizer game.
All right, Sam, cheers.
Cheers, dude.
Welcome to What's on Tap.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure. It's been a long time in the making that we've been talking,
Yes.
so it's great to have you finally here. And this is part of our Innovation in the Industry series that we're doing, and we've been talking about what you've been doing with your new company, and we're going to dive into that in a second.
Cool.
You're Sam Bergren with Mississippi River Distilling Company?
That is correct.
Awesome.
Both of those things are correct. Yes.
I got them both right.
Yes.
That's good. And you and I have bartended together back at
Yeah.
Z451 back many, many moons ago.
The good old days.
The good old days.
Good old days.
Well, first of all, tell us that recently announced that they shut down.
Yeah, that was a big bummer to see. Unfortunately during this time we're just seeing, restaurants kind of fall left and right, and you and I have been in this industry, and especially this sort of section of the industry for years now, and so we're just kind of seeing our friends' places starting to go under, and people are starting to move around, and it's not good at the moment.
Yeah, when they give those numbers of the ones that already have shut down, but the ones that are still about to or hanging on by a thread and are not going to be able to sustain for another 3, 4, 5 months at this capacity, it's just going to be heartbreaking.
Yeah, and right now a lot of those places too are just surviving because they can have outdoor seating.
Right. And this is Chicago, so
yeah. So it's like
the clock is ticking.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we'll have some people that'll put up with it probably October-ish, but end of October, no one's going to be dealing with that, and that's. I don't know if people are gonna. I've heard rumblings of some places doing heated tent situations outside still, so maybe that will alleviate some of the burden of the reduced capacities that everybody's dealing with right now. And I mean, there's going to be some serious innovation coming out of this, which is, I guess, one small positive. But I mean, really, at the end of the day, that's going to be the lifeblood.
So we're here at Forbidden Root, and he has 4 tables outside.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you could extend that, I mean, it's still 4 tables.
Yep.
Now in Chicago, because of the long winters, patio space, outdoor space, rooftops have been just such a breath of fresh air for everybody. We get so excited about that. And so, but some places have very small sections, some have very big.
Yeah.
And so before it was just really nice to have. Now it's probably a matter of life or death for a lot of these companies.
Yeah, it's beyond crucial to have that, to have that facility, the opportunity to be outside. That's really what's keeping a lot of people going right now.
And a lot of people knew Zed for its rooftop. It was an amazing rooftop.
Yes, we had lots of summers on that hot rooftop, just sweating and making mojitos like nobody's business, and we had a lot of fun up there.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
that was such a great part of
besides the
my
tip
life.
out percentage, I think that was an amazing
You
job.
know, yeah. But what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
We constantly tried to negotiate that, but
Yeah,
you know.
we're up against, it was a steep battle, but
It was.
for you met your wife there.
I did. Yeah, so I got a wife out of it,
That's
which
good.
I'm very happy for. And that restaurant in particular, it's pretty amazing how many couples and now children are starting to come from those relationships.
Yeah.
Which is just insane.
Yeah.
You know, I think I could probably think of about 5 couples just right off the top of my head that have come out of that place. It's been nuts.
It's part of the industry, a lot of in dating and whatnot, but then when they actually result in marriage and kids, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. We're
not just
we're pretty lucky.
awkward Saturdays from Friday night.
Right, exactly. Yeah, where you walk in and you're like, oh wow, okay, we're working together.
So tell me about your background, because if I remember correctly, you actually started at the kitchen there and then worked up.
Yeah, I did. So I got hired on there just working prep basically, because I'd never worked in the front of house. If you're non-restaurant people, that means bartending, serving, the front of the house. And then I was just prepping, and then Zed had a pretty interesting concept where it was churrasco style, but it wasn't, by the book Brazilian. So when you're serving food, it's still coming out on these skewers, and all your proteins are coming out on skewers and things like that. And then they had an opportunity for me to do that, and so I did that for a little while. And
so
then,
it's basically you're a chef, but you're also a server because you're interacting with the guests.
It's like the ultimate kind of hybrid of the two. And then I did that for a little bit, but then I've always been fascinated by beer. Actually, was one of my first loves, and then spirits obviously as well.
And then Ashley.
Yeah, and then Ashley. Yes, those are my trifecta right there. And so anyway, I had another opportunity, thankfully, to start working behind the bar, and then that's like when you and I met, because I don't think I was behind the bar very long.
I think technically you were a bar back.
I was? Okay.
And after I got hired, like a week later, you got promoted to bartender.
Okay, all right.
So you've pretty much done every job at that place.
It was quite a journey, and it was a real learning experience, too, as far as, just the way the restaurant industry goes when you see all these different little facets and these different roles that all have to kind of work together to make it run smooth, so that way when guests come in, they're in this environment where it's like, oh, everything's working like clockwork. Of course this is coming out then, or of course this is happening now. Of course,
a lot of prep goes into that.
Yeah, and it's a lot of work to get it to create that illusion.
And that was a huge space, with their not only rooftop but also the upstairs.
Yeah, that space, I wish I knew offhand like what the square footage was, because it was massive.
Yeah.
It was insane.
So you as a chef or even a server, you're running. Like if you're going
Literally,
up and down the stairs, I mean, you're putting on the miles.
Oh yeah, stairs, and then you're constantly going like from the kitchen on like one end of the building, going to a table or a private party on like another end of the building, and there's a lot of work that goes into making something like that run smoothly. And
so before you even were in the kitchen there, had you ever worked in a restaurant, or was that your first restaurant gig? Yeah,
actually, I started working in restaurants, kitchens, when I was like 18, I think, 17 or 18, like right around the end of high school. And I started as a dishwasher at now it's called the Tax Slayer Center back in Moline, Illinois.
Tax Slayer?
Yeah, it's at like the company Tax Slayer.
Okay.
Originally, it was called the Mark of the Quad Cities. Sorry about that. It was called the Mark of the Quad Cities when it first opened, and it's a 12,000 seat civic center arena. It's actually a really big facility, but I got my start working in the dish pit back there, and then eventually learned how to basic like cooking and like banquet style stuff, and I actually got to do like the luxury suite food for all the events, and then we were doing like all the backstage food for performers that were coming in there, and then after I left there. I went to a microbrewery actually called Bent River, which has grown. They've grown quite a bit since I was there. But I was a back of house manager there, and then I moved to Chicago. So I've just kind of always been in this business really for over half my life.
So you're a testament for anyone who wants to get in the hospitality industry and doesn't want to start off as a dishwasher, a prep cook, or a busboy or busgirl, a barback. Get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
If you're worth your lick of salt, you will be promoted quickly and get your job.
It's pretty amazing the life lessons you can learn just washing dishes, and also, just really without the utility people in a restaurant, they just don't work.
Yeah.
Like they're the heroes that you don't see working in the back, but really like they're the people that are making the ship go. And
some of the hardest workers I've ever seen are the men and women at the dish pit. Mm-hmm. And that is a job when things start piling up. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, and then what, after Zed, what did you do?
Well, and then after Zed, I towards the end of my time at Zed, I was kind of looking around for some other things. I was actually doing some work in a recording studio not far from there, doing kind of like what you guys were doing now, just doing like sound and stuff. And then that facility wound up closing, and really I was kind of at like a crossroads in my life a little bit, to where I had this passion for spirits and the bartending side of things, but I didn't necessarily want to maintain that same trajectory. So I was looking around for other ways I can operate in that business. And then thankfully there was this really awesome distillery back where I grew up called Mississippi River Distilling Company, and I had kind of followed them since they opened. And then they continued to grow. They opened in 2010, and I followed them ever since. And then eventually they needed somebody here to represent their brands and really kind of spread the word about what they're doing and really try to build up a presence here. Yeah. And so I applied, and then a couple interviews later, I'm saying goodbye to everyone at Zed, and then I've been on the road ever since, just traveling around, spreading the word.
And it's funny, like those two things are kind of what brought us here today, because when we decided to launch a podcast, you were one of the first people I called and said, "Sam, I want to do a podcast. What do I do? What do I need?"
We talked, we hashed out a lot.
Yeah, and then so as we were talking about like the audio equipment, because that's what you had gone to school for and had experience with. And then I'm like, well, so what are you up to now? And then we started talking about Mississippi River. Actually, and I knew that, but then we got into the conversation about the hand sanitizer, and I'm like, oh, that's, we'd love to do a podcast. That's a show right there.
Yep.
Like Seinfeld, that's a show.
That's a show right there. Oh yeah, we the sanitizer, that was so funny how that came about, just because during all of the with everything changing and shutting down during COVID, and then all of a sudden people are running out of toilet paper and all these other just crazy, just things that nobody would have anticipated. We kind of started to have a lot of people reach out to us on social media, through messages, timeline comments and things like that, saying, "Hey, we can't find any sanitizer in the store. Can you guys make it?" And
because other distilleries were doing it.
Well, this is actually even before that happened. But really, there were a lot of people that were thinking, "Wait, we can't even get rubbing alcohol, so can you just make like a high proof vodka and we'll use that?" It was essentially like the logic behind that. And then, at one point there was like a text thread between us and like some of our other friends that own and operate distilleries, and they were getting the same thing, like people reaching out like, "Hey, we need some kind of situation for this. What can you do?" And we're all like, "Well, we're not licensed for that. That's illegal." Like, what, where our hands are tied, And then I remember getting a text message in that thread, and then I think it was 24 hours later, the TTB and the FDA approved a formula for hand sanitizer that all distilleries were allowed to produce. And then basically once that happened, then I was on the phone for about 2 months answering phone calls for the distillery, because I couldn't be out, during quarantine and things like that. So that's what I wound up doing, was just fielding phone calls from from anywhere from just private citizens to schools to, police stations, hospitals were a big one. And then like we even got calls from like divisions of Amazon wanting like thousands of gallons a week. And it was just kind of like, it just blew up.
So when was that first time that the FDA announced the recipe and said, here, if you make this, it's approved?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact date, but basically they kind of threw together, amazingly so, they threw together a formula very quickly, and it was basically, it has to be at least 60% ethyl alcohol, which distilleries produce, and they, more importantly, they have the license to hold it in their facility. That's really kind of the big block.
Is that for like safety, flammability type
yeah,
things?
exactly. Because, if you think about it, like you can't even go to a gas station and put it in like a growler from here. It has to go in a specific container or go directly into your car, and there's lots of detailed protocol around that on how to handle it, store it, and all that good stuff.
So how long did it take between that announcement and you guys were able to actually start making hand sanitizer?
Like a few days, maybe.
Really?
Because once that dropped, then we had to bring in a couple ingredients. So in the formula, it has to be at least 60% ethyl alcohol, and then there has to be some hydrogen peroxide in there and glycerin, so it will like absorb into your skin. But it's not a gel solution. It's liquid, so it works best like in a spray bottle. But you can use it on surfaces and on your hands and things like that.
I think we've all experienced that, because before, when hand sanitizer was really thick, like this aloe kind of consistency, and then you go up to a hand pump and all of a sudden it sprays like water at you. Like,
everyone's gotten that like surprise spritz when you go up, and then all of a sudden you got like a little patch on your shirt, and it's not very flattering. But people are starting to adjust to that by now. I think it's kind of a given. And
so, what percentage of your production facility was allocated towards hand sanitizer versus booze?
There was a time when it was probably close to 80%. If I'm going to be, I'd have to like make a phone call to verify that. But based on it got to a point to where we had to have a garage sale for our empty barrels, where we had to put some whiskey, really just start bottling stuff, and then we also had to kind of move things like into totes and move some stuff around just to make room for the extra product.
Yeah.
It was kind of crazy how that happened, because they put out a Facebook thing saying, hey, we've got X amount of empty barrels, you want them, come get them. And we put them out at like 9 a.m. and by 9:15 they were gone, just because people want barrels.
Those are awesome.
Breweries want barrels. we're at Forbidden Root, they've probably got, I don't know, half a dozen of ours here right now just for different things. And
they're beautiful too. So
thank you.
Well, what about now? Like, has the usual Purells and the those companies caught up finally?
Yeah, they've finally started to catch back up. So that's why you'll probably notice there are more gels out in the market now, and plus just it was a real test of our supply chain, really, because there were times when we were really chugging along manufacturing it, and then we would have to wait for like peroxide to come in, or we couldn't get empty gallon jugs, or we could, there's some piece of that puzzle that we would just end up waiting like a week or two on.
Yeah.
And it was very illuminating to see how we are as a country or society able to navigate something like this. And it's like we're going to need to have something in place, so when hopefully this doesn't happen again, ever, but it probably will, and we're going to need to learn some stuff.
And we'll have a playbook at least this time around. And so, but you guys aren't doing the little cute hand ones for your pocket or your
unfortunately, no. We
car.
were just doing gallon jugs of it, and then we partnered with some other companies like Simply Soothing out of Iowa. They were starting to make some smaller personalized our personal size bottles of it. And there was one other company too that started just buying bulk from us, because we were just selling the gallon jugs, or you could buy like a 55-gallon drum from us too. And we had a lot of larger companies buy those for production floors, because they're just going to fill their own containers and use it.
And who are your customers then? It sounds like some of them are just people that with manufacturing facilities. But were you selling to your traditional bar and restaurant clients?
Yeah. A lot of traditional bar and restaurant clients. Lots of hospitals, schools, all the area police stations, fire departments. Lots of first responder situations. And then we had some military accounts too, because the Rock Island Arsenal is right by our distillery, and really we probably sold to every niche of business you can come up with, it seems like.
And what about moving forward? What percentage now are you selling, and what do you foresee?
It's definitely dialed back. As long as we're allowed to make it, we're going to keep making it. It's definitely not our number one priority at the moment. We have enough in stock to where I don't think we're going to run out anytime soon. And now, kind of like everybody else, now that things are opening back up, we're just trying to navigate that as best we can. And now, the business looks way different. And, on the on-premise side, or bars, restaurants for non-supplier people, that business it's not occupying as much of my time, full disclosure. I mean, now it's all off premise.
That's good though. Like getting back to normalcy to some extent. We're not there yet, but any step is helpful.
Yeah, exactly. We're thankfully we've got some great accounts, like Forbidden Root being one of them, that even during quarantine, they were still selling Cody Road by the bottle, through their website, over, Grubhub, DoorDash, things like that.
Yeah.
And
so we actually haven't talked much about Mississippi River Distilling. We're pretty deep into this, but give us some information about Mississippi River Distilling and the background, where they're located.
For sure. So Mississippi River Distilling Company we're based in a little river town called LeClaire, Iowa. And it's right outside the Quad City area, which occupies eastern Iowa and western Illinois, essentially right along the Mississippi River. That's actually where I grew up, and we're just right outside, the main Quad Cities: Moline, Rock Island, Davenport, Bettendorf. And so what we do is we've partnered with local farmers, and that's what we use. We use local grain to produce everything. So back in 2010, when Ryan and Garrett Burchett and Sean McQueen founded the distillery, they went to Germany to train in the art of distillation, and then they brought that knowledge back to the Quad Cities and had a still put in, and then they really wanted to do something that kind of showcased the local agriculture and really, just the beauty of Iowa and Illinois, and they also had an immense passion for making spirits. And so that's really kind of the DNA of the project of what we're doing. Is we want everything local. There's no artificial coloring, no flavors. I mean, if you look at our bottle on the side, we hand number every bottle, and there's batch notes on each bottle as well. And so if you actually go to our website, you can look up the exact story of your bottle that you purchased. So you're going to see who the farmers are, where their farms are located, who distilled it, who bottled it.
That's awesome.
Sometimes we blow stuff up in the distillery. If we lost a fermenter or something, we'll put that on there, and you'll get every little piece of it. And that's been really fun to see people respond to that, especially now where I feel like consumers are a lot more educated than they were 15 years ago, 20 years ago, as far as the products that they're buying and consuming for themselves. You go to a lot of restaurants and people will pay a little bit more to know that their pork came from a particular farm.
And you hear that a lot more with the food.
Exactly.
But it's really cool that it's kind of broadened out into the distilling world.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And so what liquors are you guys making? Is it purely whiskey, or do you have a whole spectrum?
We kind of make a lot of different things, and one of the best parts about working with these guys is that if there's a cool idea, they're going to make it. And so I really I feel so fortunate to be with these guys, because it really feels kind of like we're just all making stuff with our friends, like kind of like doing this podcast right now. Like I'm doing a really cool project with my friend Joe, and that's such a huge source of happiness for me. And so as far as the spirits that they make, we have a Cody Road family of whiskeys where we do a bourbon, a rye, single barrel expressions of both of those. And then we have different barrel finishes of both of those as well. And then we do honey and maple flavored versions of our bourbon. And then we also do pre-made cocktails, or RTDs, ready to drinks, if you will. So we do a barrel-aged old-fashioned with our bourbon. We do a barrel-aged Manhattan with our rye. And then we also have our clear spirits, River Pilot Vodka, River Rose Gin, River Baron Artisan Spirit. And then we have assorted seasonal cordials that we release as well.
Wow, so it's a pretty big
yeah,
lineup.
It's like if there's something cool we can try to make, or if we at some point they found somebody with some really awesome strawberries, so they started making the strawberry vodka seasonal that's out once a year. I mean, it's really fun.
And you're doing custom blends like with Forbidden Root?
Yeah, so that I'm so excited for this. I want to try it. I haven't tried the finished product yet, but I'd come in and met with Brian and the brewers, and then the original goal was to just select a barrel of our rye whiskey, because if you come to Forbidden Root on a Monday night for $15, you get their amazing burger, one of their delicious beers, and then a shot of Cody Road. Huh. And so we figured, well, hey, we should just like kind of personalize this a little bit. Why don't you pick out a barrel? We're moving through it anyway. And then they wound up finding two that they liked. And then so at one point we all had like a 5 or 6 little glasses in front of us, and we're just kind of like putting like droplets in and like doing different blends and being like, oh, you try this, or check this out, see what this is doing. And eventually came to a blend, and we just blended the two barrels together and bottled it. And
Brian from, was he a regular at Zed?
Yeah. So he was one of our Zed regulars for a while, and then his roommate was one of the opening bartenders, Brian Stuber.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so here you are, you were looking for a job maybe outside of bartending perhaps, and for Mississippi River, had they expanded to Chicago yet, or they were looking to launch?
Yeah, at the time they had a Chicago presence. I mean, Benny's was already carrying them, and then there were a handful of bars and restaurants carrying it as well. And then they actually had a really good relationship, and still have a great relationship with the Alinea Group restaurants as well. And so they were selling barrels to them before I even came on to the scene. And so there were lots of seeds planted, if you will, and then I did my best to help develop them, and then sow my own, eventually. And now, I mean, I'm spending still a decent amount of time in Chicago in the suburbs, but I'm also going to, Bloomington Normal, Peoria, Springfield, even further downstate Illinois, going up to Rockford, and so it's been really interesting to see all these little like kind of restaurant and bar scenes kind of pop up and develop, and then I try to incorporate our stuff into that any way I can.
And how does your bartending skills translate? Because you're not like a salesy person, but I think this sales type of job is more about relationships, which you're amazing.
It is. Well, thanks, man. My bartending experience has definitely helped, because when I'm going in to talk to somebody about how our spirits are going to compare to others and why ours would be more advantageous over using someone else's, I know specifically like what the bartender or, bar manager, beverage director, whomever is going to be looking for. And, thankfully, like we've kind of tailored spirits to work like that. Like even when it comes down to like the packaging, to where this is actually our second. This is Cody Road Bottle 2.0, if you will. The original ones were kind of like a whistle pig style, where it was just a large heart kind of shape. And as you can remember bartending, if
where
you
you
want
put that thing.
exactly, yeah, like if we can't grab it out of a rail,
then it's not going to go on the rail.
Yeah,
It
like-
can't go in your speed drinks.
yeah,
Like your-
yeah, you can't. Yeah, we're not gonna get very many cocktail placements with that. I just remember like, I forgot what it was. Where you and I, we had to do a cocktail at one point that had like a weird float or something. And I remember being in the rail at Zed and always constantly having to like turn to
Yeah.
like grab something, and just doesn't work.
Speaking
But-
of cocktails that we made, though, remember we got our rock sake cocktail on the recipe with the rosemary.
Yeah, Rock Garden.
Rock garden.
Yeah.
There you go.
That was a delicious.
That was a good drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Went through.
So
a lot
what are
of
we
those.
drinking here? Tell us about this Cody
So,
Road.
This is our flagship Cody Road straight bourbon. It is made from 70% corn, 20% wheat, and 10% barley. It's 90 proof. It's a nice big buttery bourbon.
It's good morning whiskey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It's almost noon.
It is. We'll say it's noon. It's fine. This has been our top selling spirit really, over the last 5, 6, 7 years. Up until about recently in Illinois, the ready to drink cocktails have really been taken off. So they've started to kind of surpass our bourbon sales, which is
Those full bottles are ready to drink, or
Yeah.
the individual sizes?
yeah, they're in a bottle that looks just like this, and then it's just a ready-made cocktail that we've thrown back into barrels actually for additional time in the oak, and then when you purchase a bottle of it, you take it home and pour it over ice, and then you're good to go.
Yeah.
You don't need to do anything else.
So if people wanted to find these, obviously Forbidden Root, the Lindy Group has a
Yeah.
bunch of those. Who are some
Yeah.
of your clients or?
Binny's for sure. If you're in the Chicago area, that's going to be your best bet. Bitter Pops up in kind of Roscoe Village area, they carry everything too. And then there's some other like independent bottle shops that carry it, like Rayon's up in Uptown has it as well. So yeah, you'll see it around.
Great. So what's next for Mississippi River Distilling?
So right now, as far as business, out in the market, we are just trying to be as useful and as accommodating to our on-premise accounts and really everybody that we possibly can, while still staying safe. Like with Forbidden Root, what's been really cool about this is that this is going to be another opportunity to create an event, like draw a crowd in, as a specialty release, because their blend will only be available here. Like we don't even have any at the distillery, to sell there. It's just exclusive to here. So if you want it, you have to come here to get it. And, it's a really nice opportunity to like get people out, get people excited about something, get them to, come in, have a drink, take a bottle home, and so really trying to create more opportunities like that in the on-premise world. And then as far as off-premise, going out to stores, really it's so important just to go out and chat with, the managers, the spirit specialists, the people on the floor that are going to be asked, hey, what should I get?
Yeah.
Because when you look at the bourbon section at a Binny's,
It's massive.
there's hundreds of different bottles up
And
there.
the story is really what sells it. Obviously
Yeah.
you got to have good juice, but
Right. Yeah. And so really that's what I've been focusing on, is just making sure that I'm getting out and talking to people and making sure that we're at the forefront of their mind. And, one nice thing about our spirits too is that they're not crazy expensive. They're kind of a mid-level price point. So we usually sit in that $29.99, $30, low 30s area, which is going to be a little more approachable for more people.
Yeah. For sure. And can people come out and to the distilleries? Do they have like a tap room? Is it more of a production facility?
So right now you can go out and have cocktails in the bar just fine. It's a little bit different style of service. Before it was pretty open, you can go up to the bar and order, but now the way everything works is that we are at a limited capacity. and everything is ordered through your server. There's no going up to the bar and ordering anything. It's very streamlined to where you sit down and, you're going to have masks on and everything. And, it just looks a little bit different. We're not doing tours anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We suspended that.
But once we get over this hump, is it worth the trip out there?
It's totally worth the trip out there. I mean, really, if you're able to get out there and it's a nice day and you want to, take the distillery tour, taste through some different spirits, enjoy some fantastic cocktails. Sean's been doing amazing with our cocktail program out there. And the distillery is right on the Mississippi River, so you can enjoy all of that and actually just sit and look at the largest river in North America and enjoy the view.
Enjoy some great whiskey.
Yeah, enjoy some great whiskey. It's such a fun time out there.
How far of a drive is that from Chicago?
From here, it's roughly 3 hours. If there's no traffic, you could probably do it in 2.5.
Yeah.
But, it's not, you can get there and back in a day, no problem.
What about the on-premise to off-premise ratio, both like before pre-COVID and now, maybe the heart of COVID and now phase whatever we're on, COVID?
Yeah. I would say for me, it was probably 60-40, a little more on the on-premise side, just because that seems to take a little bit more time. There's usually a little more waiting involved, waiting to talk to people, waiting to talk to bar manager, beverage director,
hard to get
lead
to.
bar. Yeah, like people, Brian was gracious enough to sit down, and hang out. And, these people are, like we mentioned before, there's a lot of moving parts in a restaurant. So it's a lot of times it's really hard to get those people's attention. But now, it's definitely flipped. Like I would probably say like 80-20, I'm more in the liquor stores now than anything.
Any of the major grocery stores? Have you been able to crack any of those here in Chicago?
A few of the Whole Foods carry us. And then, outside of Chicago, we have some of the Jewel locations, a lot of Hy-Vee locations. If you're kind of out in the sticks, we're, about Hy-Vee.
Some good stores, though.
Yes. I love Hy-Vee. So we have, grocery store presence, but, we're steadily growing. At some point we'll be in, all the rest of them, but.
Well, great. And we wish you nothing but success. You're
Thank you very
an awesome
much.
guy. It's good to catch up with you again.
You're quite a gentleman yourself.
I tried. And, thanks for stepping up and answering
man,
the call when they needed, that hand sanitizer, and you and all the other distilleries that took the time to learn how to do that. And, we all need to do our part, and good job, and thank you for that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the whiskey. This is awesome, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome. That sounds good, man.
Tell Ashley I said
I will. I will.
All right. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, dude. Thanks.
Enjoying this episode? Don't forget to subscribe to be alerted to future episodes. What's on Tap is brought to you by TappedIn, a restaurant solutions company dedicated to making restaurateurs' lives easier and their businesses more successful. If your bar or restaurant could use help with anything from social media to Wi-Fi marketing to digital signage or anything else, head over to gettappedin.io to find out more. Thanks to Sam and Mississippi River Distilling Company for your time and your great whiskey. If you want to see where you can buy their spirits or hand sanitizer, or get an update on their distillery tours, head over to mrdistilling.com. We recorded this episode at one of Mississippi River's key accounts, the Forbidden Root Restaurant and Brewery in Chicago. While we were there, we sat down with their Director of Operations, Brian Krajak, to learn about their unique concept and how COVID has impacted them. Stay tuned for part 2.
Welcome to the show, Brian Krajak, the Director of Restaurant Operations of Forbidden Root Restaurant.
Hello. Yeah, restaurant and brewery. How are we doing, everybody?
And brewery.
Yes.
Yeah, welcome to the show. We appreciate
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We're here today because one of your vendors is Mississippi River Distilling, and we're doing an episode on him, and we like to shoot on site, and we didn't really want to drive to Iowa today, and so we said, let's shoot at one of your clients' place, and he chose Forbidden Root. So thanks for hosting us here today.
Yeah, absolutely. I've known Sam for a long time, love working with those guys, so I was excited for the invite.
Great. Well, welcome. And so tell us a little bit about Forbidden Root.
Well, we would have had our 4th anniversary this year. We've been making beer about 5 years. Opened up back 4.5 years ago in Chicago, in West Town, right on Chicago Avenue, kind of in like the heart of this new little pop-up of restaurants that have gotten really popular, which is really, really fun. We started making botanical beers with Robert Finkel, Randy Mosier, and the brewers, just to do something a little bit different. Things that are rooted in the ground or grown, in beer, which, it's culinary. Beer can be a lot of culinary, so it was a lot of fun to mix some different ingredients, do some things that aren't always the norm. And that's kind of how it started. And then we hired some, different people, and through the process, originally it was gonna be like a sandwiches and chips place. Then they're like, no, let's get a real chef. Let's make it a real restaurant. Let's do food that people haven't really done before, and aim high, aim for an experience. That's like our number one thing. It's, we want anyone to come in that just wants to have a $5 beer to sit down dinner with their friends for anniversaries. We've done weddings, we do all kinds of things here. It's in a town, so we have a really great staff. We really enjoy what we do. And we keep trying to, innovate and do some different things and really give people what they want and have some fun with it as well.
So one of the most unique things is the botanical beer. So can you tell us what that means, and is anyone else doing that you're aware of, or at least on a large scale like this?
Well, at the time, the people weren't doing it. They didn't come out to say it, but botanics have gotten huge in beer because they just can really, really work. Like one of our flagship beers in the beginning was Sublime Ginger. It was ginger root and lime. So that is, there's your botanics right there. Strawberry Basil, our number one beer, is strawberry and basil in a Hefeweizen. So we kind of took that to make, the core beers. You'll see some farmhouse ale out there in the world that'll use some different things as well, but that's, not every day. You don't see it around a lot. We were definitely one of the first to start using it, but we won't be the last. I mean, people love it. It's a really fun thing to put in. You can. People are trying to put in anything into a beer right now, and people put cereal into beer. So we definitely wanted to keep it more not traditional in the way of like the food and the botanics, and
right.
Really try to strive to make some fun stuff that everybody can drink.
And if the beer's great, there's always going to be competitors that pop up and say, "Look what they're doing! It's amazing! So let's try it."
Of course, absolutely. I mean, you see some strawberry basil beers out there. We weren't probably the first, but we're definitely the first to use it mainstream. Or to have it as your everyday beer. Like that's our core beer that we tell everyone they need to try. But no, just like food or anything like that. No, it's hard to say you were the first or that you made this and people did it. But it's really nice to be known to do something well, and people really jump on board with that. Is more that what happened with
right.
botanics.
It would be all right if we were able to actually sample some beer while we talked.
Yeah,
Are the taps ready to go?
Yeah. Thanks, bud. So that's strawberry basil. That's sage advice.
All right, so we've got strawberry basil and sage advice. These are quintessential. If you come to Forbidden Root, you got to have these.
Well, I got you two different ones. So sage advice was actually a collaboration in the last year that we made for Bitter Pops for their Advent calendar. So it's actually one of the newer botanical beers, and it was so popular, so we just brought it back recently, and we're canning it next week. So I wanted to show one that's new to the rotation or new to coming out again. People really, really dig it. More of a savory beer with some classic Saison yeast.
So be perfect with a lot of food.
Yes, exactly. So we want a lot. We want to have beers that pair with food, but we definitely want to have beers that don't pair with food. They don't all pair with food. We did talking about the slowdowns and different things like that. We actually did beer dinners to go, 5 courses, and paired them all. So where sage advice was an easy one to pair because it really goes well with a lot of food.
Yeah.
So.
When you did those beer dinners, did you package those in cans then, each one? Or
or crowlers, depending on what we had. So we'd usually, and people know there's a crowler shortage for a while. We had bottles, and I hand-filled bottles off tap for 5 hours a day to get bottles to people. So
and you have a crowning capping mechanism
Used
too?
the old school, it was funny. I was
hand crank?
Yep. The brewers, talked to some other brewers like, hey, I got to get this done here. We got to get, this beer to these people, because you'd have tracking, and then it would not come. So it was just, we call them aluminum gold for a little while, these crowlers that were out there. Everyone's trying to borrow them from each other and be like, when did you get your pallet? Is that pallet coming in? But yeah, it was actually a lot of fun. People really, really enjoyed it. I mean, we sold about 50 in the days we would do them. Chef would make all brand new menu items. And actually some of those menu items stuck to this new summer menu that we did. So that was a ton of fun. But yeah, back to the beer, the Sage Advice, it's awesome to pair with food. But it's also great, just daytime drinker.
And so, this started off, the idea was to make the beer. And then you said, no, let's step it up and have a restaurant that can match the quality of that beer. Was the cuisine designed around to match the food? I mean, when did you get the chef, and what was his vision for that?
No, well, they definitely were looking for a foodie chef, I would say. I don't always love to use that term, but somebody that can kind of create his own thing. And he came in here and sat down and made the burger, and that's when Robert, the Root Master owner, he was like, okay, done, let's get this guy. You know what I mean? So, and it was just visions of different things that he wanted to do. He had worked at Purple Pig, worked at Forno, so he had some of that. There's actually a lot of us that used to work at Purple Pig that work here now. So, it's kind of like that elevated shared plates, but we also wanted to keep the bar aspect of it. Like, we have popcorn every day, and we change the flavors all the time. We have chips every day, we change the flavors, but then cheese plates, and like our number one is we actually have a second chef that worked under the first for forever, so it's awesome to be able to give him an opportunity, and he's really, really taken it to the next level. I think he's an amazing job, and he's like, to me, he's made one of the top 5 dishes like in my life called duck and dumplings that I would never want to get rid of ever, and we could never take off the
duck and dumplings. We will be back for that one.
Yeah, then. You got to try that. That's a must.
And so he's a sous chef, or is he now the exec chef?
He's the exec chef. He's been the exec chef for 2 years.
Great.
But he worked under the first one. It was Dan to Dan, and then Dan moved on to another opportunity, which was a great opportunity for him too. And it was time. It was time for him to give our chef Dan now an opportunity to really show his talents. And I couldn't be happier with how the food's turning out.
I think as when you get to the top of any organization, one of the best gifts you can give your staff is to leave and let them all take another step up. So That's really cool that it worked out.
It really did. Sometimes it's not always the best, and not from here, but just in experience that I've dealt with. But this one really did work out. Every week we're trying something new. He's making homemade sorbets right now that people will be like, wait, a brewery cares about making homemade sorbet, but we love doing some different things and having some different food that wouldn't be your norm, and it does happen. Like, people come in here expecting chicken tenders and bacon cheeseburgers if they're just thinking brewery, if they haven't really researched us or anything. Like, we don't just have ranch all the time. Like, ranch isn't on the menu. We just don't make ranch. So like, we like there's some times where that can be like tricky, or usually the chef will be like, I'll whip you up some real fast. You know what I mean? You got to take care of the guest. But it's been a lot of fun to do something, in Chicago, it's hard to stand out. There's so much amazing food and amazing beer. So we're trying to do the best to combine the best that we can do of both of those.
And I think you've done an amazing job. I mean, there really is. Well, and tell me about this building. So you've got amazing beer, you've got amazing food, and the space is pretty spectacular.
Yeah, they did an amazing job in the build-out. It used to be the old Hub Theater. We actually kept the hub that if you walked at the front door, the tiles still there to give it kind of the homage. Kept some of the floor, and then just wanted to go with the more modern, rustic, the lights, the Edison lights, which, are really popular, but the way they did them on the bar looks really, really great. Bar tops custom made. So they did a beautiful, beautiful job on it. And it really, we also want to be a bar. I mean, that was kind of the funny thing is 2 years ago, the John Bon Shea Awards nominated us for best bar. And we're like, holy cow, in the city, like they put us in the top 4. Like, that's the reason we're here. I mean, people don't even realize we have cocktails. We have one of the best old fashions, in the city, in my opinion. We're an old fashioned city. We just actually, amazing timing is that with Sam working with Cody Road, we actually did our a single. Well, normally you'd call it a single barrel, but we actually took 2 single barrels that Sam we Sam brought out a couple. We blended them together and found like really this amazing, spirit. It was him, myself. Actually, it was my cousin who's a regular. We wanted to bring in, loves whiskey, and then the brewer. And we all were like, "This is the brewer's idea," and we just kept trying it out. And we think it's excellent. And you can come in and try that old fashioned. It's, we're really excited. Like we do beer cocktails, so that's a big thing. We have strawberry basil on a margarita right now. That is our #1 seller. It's 95 degrees every day, it feels like, so it was a perfect time to do a beer margarita. So we also have a really nice wine list too. We want anyone to come in. You don't have to drink, you can just come have food. Anyone can come in here and hopefully have a great experience.
And from your perspective, people know you more as a restaurant.
They do. In this town, in the West Town area of Chicago, most of our traffic is the food experience. And then we get, and then people do buy a lot of beer to go. But a lot of it, is we're very well known for the food. And it's really weird to people. I mean, they're almost even, like, if you look at our sales, it's 50-50.
Yeah.
It's
a great balance.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun to do that. And people will come in for the burger and they'll be like, holy cow, I've never had strawberry basil. And a lot of people don't like beer, and that's okay. And hopefully we have something that can get them into digging some beers. We have a lot of that.
And that whiskey blend that you guys made, is that available only here, or is that any retail?
No, it just came available here. I don't know if they kept some for sale over there, so Sam can answer that later if he wants. Sometimes the distilleries keep some to sell, which is cool because that's fun for people that are regulars of a distillery are a little bit away. We've done some single barrels in Columbus too, where they can get it and take it home. Now, before legally we couldn't do it. Now with COVID we can. So we do sell them to go, which is cool.
There's always some silver linings.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell us about Columbus though. So when did that open up?
That opened up Black Friday last year. The area that we're in, Easton, sought us out and said, "Hey, come check this out." And they flew out here, and we had some amazing designers, and it just kind of came about. Expansion wasn't the first thing we had ever thought about, and then we're like, we fell in love with doing it. Like, let's do it again.
When opportunities knock, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just, Columbus is an amazing town. We basically, every single employee is Columbus or Columbus proper. Chef, GM, all the management staff, brewer. So we wanted to go in and say, we're not trying to be Chicago coming into Ohio. It's like, we wanted to do something again that we thought was amazing. Let's do the Ohio twist and version of that. And the brewer and the chef are really hitting their stride now that we've reopened with COVID, and it's super exciting to see them get busier. And they are. It's getting better out there. All around in Columbus, Ohio, they're more and more people are going out every day.
I mean, it's pretty amazing to be sought out like that from a city. My next question was going to be, how did you wind up in Columbus? It's not too far, but it's also not the closest next big city.
Well, this area that they wanted to do is eclectic places, and they wanted a brewery. So, and then they found, they researched a couple. It was between us and another one at the end, and we're what they chose. So that was super, super cool. There's actually a bar group here that has a place called Beeline that's right next door. 4EG that owns Estelle and Alive One.
Oh, wow.
Ben's that really good people. They run a really good operation. They're actually literally we're 8 feet from each other's patios, so it creates a really dynamic vibe. And then there's a burlesque speakeasy also right there. So it's like 3 places that would never be in this area that are kind of in this area together, and you just can come and hang out and enjoy all 3, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, next time we're in Columbus, we'll do a little shout out to you there. And
come on by. Let me know.
And I just tasted the strawberry basil.
Mm-hmm.
What a huge range. I mean, these are both delicious beers in their own rights, but I was almost blown away by the tartness and it's not this sweet, sugary strawberry that a lot of strawberry beers might be. So
right, that was the intention, is to keep it not sweet and more tart. And we definitely wouldn't call it a sour, but everyone, like you said, everyone's expectations would be to be something sweet and more puree, but it's not. It's a good, clean beer. You still taste beer. You still take some of the hef background, some basil, and then strawberry. A nice, really nice strawberry fruity pop in the beginning and end.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
So you mentioned a few of the places that you worked in the past. You had Purple Pig. Where else?
Most of it was McCormick and Schmick's. It was there for maybe 7 years. It was an awesome run. It's great to learn. I was there before they got bought by Landry's. I do think if you really want to be successful in this business, you have to work for a corporation that teaches you finances. Like, I'm glad I did it young and was able to come somewhere like here and be able to like do things we want to do and have fun and have a say and use your experiences and be able to do them instead of everything's so cut and throat, like you're worried about food costs every day, you know what I mean? But they teach you a ton. Had some really great people through there, even with the challenges of moving to a different corporation and everything like that, but it taught me a lot. It got me downtown, really, which is, the day I moved downtown, I was like, gosh, why didn't I do this sooner?
Where were you at before?
I lived in Naperville. My family's from Darien, though.
Okay.
I just was in Naperville for like 2 years working there. I worked at Ted's Montana Grill for 6 years and then McCormick's and Purple Pig. Yeah, but I honestly hadn't had a lot of jobs. I'm 39 now. I love that I've been places for a decent while and learned and was able to experience some things. So it's been a fun ride.
I'll second that, though, with working for a publicly traded company restaurant in the past. Like, you learn a lot that you can apply to these other restaurants, where I get a lot of managers who might have 10 years of experience, but they'd always worked for like an independence, and they actually learn a lot of bad habits that way. So, for all these listeners out there thinking about where they get another job, don't shy away from the corporate gigs. Go there, learn your chops, and then you can apply some of those skills and trainings.
I mean, 100%. And to be totally frank, corporations usually have a little bit more money, so you can start to get your net worth, your salary up there. Yeah. That'll help you no matter where you are. I would never, opportunities, everything. And a friend of mine is the one that told me, like, hey, you got to, come do this. And you live, you learn, but I would definitely never shy away. If it's a good opportunity, I'm not saying you have to seek them out, but if there's something there, yeah, exactly.
Same thing when I was moving to Chicago from Madison. I had an opportunity to work at probably like my dream job, and then this other corporate gig. And the dream job just didn't pay anything, had no health insurance, right. No vacation. Like, it was just, but it was everything else. It was so cool. But I'm glad I made that jump, and then you could do a lot of other things afterwards.
Right, exactly.
So we've talked about the building, your chef, this place. And what about the designers of this? I mean, obviously the bones are beautiful, the walls, the ceilings. Who kind of was the visual person?
It's a friend of the owner's, Travis. She's actually interior designer, is actually starting to do more commercial. So we let her use this place as like her portfolio base, her big, she'll text me and be like, hey, can I bring some people in to show them the building? I'm like, yeah, whenever, just let me know when you need me to let you in.
Well, we love to talk to her too, because we, talked to a lot of new restaurants that have that big question, like, should I do it myself or should we have somebody? And you can tell usually when you walk in a place.
Yeah, you do. I mean, in Ohio, we hired Moser and Associates, which is over here on Hubbard, and they've done some crazy things in their past that was super awesome to work with them. And then when we brought them in, the team from Ohio, those architects had heard of them. They're like, holy cow, it's really nice to meet you. So it's awesome to work with some different people and be a part of designing too out there. So you learn a ton when it comes to doing two different things and having different designers and everything like that.
I mean, even that process, every time you do it, you learn, you get a little bit better. So the third one will be even more smooth and more impressive. And
just like things like you don't think about where the sun comes up every day if it's like your first time, and then you're like, oh wait, we shouldn't put that table there because it's going to get really hot, or you know what I mean? And
right.
you don't always think about those things, and now you do. As the second, as you grow, you're like, I have a list of being like, okay, we got to check that before we go.
Yeah.
You have a progression of like, we need to make sure that's good before we can keep moving,
Sure.
that there. So that's the most fun part about opening a place, to be honest. It's all the things you learn across the way.
So I want to jump back to something you mentioned a few minutes ago, the crowlers. So tell us about growlers versus crawlers and what you guys are doing mostly here, because I came back right in the beginning of the COVID lockdown. I actually was on this self-exploration mission to learn about crawlers, and your guy, and I took his name down here, was Matt Lobman.
Yeah.
He was showing me everything back there. I thought it was so cool. So what can you tell us about that?
Well, growlers is what was back in the day. And, it's evolution. Everybody wants cans now. It's the same premise. You're really just getting a can, recyclable can right then and there instead of filling the glass. We live in a downtown city. People don't want to have 8 growlers sometimes. They want to be able to pick something up and go and not have to worry about it again, or you go to a picnic or you go out. So growlers just were the demand before COVID, and then they became even bigger when to-go beer got gigantic. But we've a really nice October system. Yeah, that's the thing that actually seals the cans, but it's super easy. We pour some off tap, and we have a growler filler as well, depending on how busy we are. We just want to get as many filled as possible. But they're super fun. I love them. I personally buy them when I go to other breweries just because I just want to be able to recycle them and let them go.
Right.
I
mean, so what are the sizes? What's how large they?
Yeah, it's just 32 ounces. So it's whether you drink 16s or 12s, you can do kind of the math. But it's about 2.5 beers. But yeah, we can fill anything. So we've actually, like in July, I think we sold 800 growlers. And that's with having other canned beers too. It's just you can fill anything you want at any time. If you say I like that beer, we can fill it, and that's what's awesome about growlers.
Take it to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that equipment though is pretty impressive that you have.
Yeah, that fills everything. Growlers, cans, anything. We have it set up for growlers because again, nobody even comes in and asks for growlers anymore.
Yeah.
It's just a totally different game. We didn't order them about a year and a half ago. We just made the decision we'll refill if people want. We can't. I'm not doing it right now during COVID, but normal. Yeah, we're just everyone wants growlers. It's so much easier for everybody. It's cheaper for the people and you. So why not just go that route?
Great. Yeah, I loved it. So tell me a little more about COVID. How was business at the beginning of the year, leading up to March, before the actual official shutdown? Were you seeing any declines in headcounts?
No, honestly, no, we weren't. We were having, here, we've been here for 4 years. You almost know what you're getting into every day. It's going to be almost the same. Like you did this the last 45 Thursdays in a row. This is how many people are coming. Ohio, we actually had our biggest week ever. And I remember being there. I was in Ohio visiting, talking to the managers and saying, hey, this could get weird with this coronavirus. Like this is March 12th-ish.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact date, but I think so. I'm just like, it's like that Wednesday, Thursday. I'm like, it could get weird, I don't know. And then I remember later that night seeing the TV and Rudy Gobert testing positive. I was like, oh gosh, I think, some stuff's really going to happen. And then just started planning. We're like, man, we might get shut down. Like there's, so it was crazy. Fortunately, having to-go beer and having growler machines, we were able to kind of switch to a model. It was only managers and chefs for a while where everything was to go. Everything was to go. And we just tried to make the best that you could do. You tried, it was hard. You'd have days where you're just like, oh my gosh, is anyone going to, order in the beginning, and then people got less scared and to-go became the thing. And, we started to do decent. I mean, having a restaurant that was on and then also having cans, we became a store, right? And then when they made things like liquor legal, we almost became more of a store and not a rest. Like you'd walk up, get your food, take it, or we did delivery in the beginning with Grubhub and our own personal staff. So we were able to hire a couple back, and then Ohio was able to open first, and it was decent. They let us extend our patio there, which was amazing. Cities were pretty good about giving people patios where they didn't normally have them, and you're able to do some different things with that. Now that we have like half indoor, half patio kind of model in both places, we're at about 60%. So it's not the worst thing in the world. You're just trying to tread water and get to, I don't even want to guess a date, but, I'm hoping April 1st that things are kind of back to normal in general. So you had to adjust a lot. Like, also on those dinners, we'd sell 50 a week, and those would be our biggest days. You move every beer to go, like I was saying with the crowd, but we started canning more and more things. It's all about, to-go food. We went to a menu that was going to be all easier stuff, still amazingly elevated, and we knew it was going to be hot. So we went to the burrata and the roast beef carpaccio, and different things that would work better to go with a picnic or to go with the burgers you may be cooking already and different things like that. But,
so you're really set up. I mean, you have great food, so right there you had that, and you had the beer. Where, most restaurants, in the beginning they couldn't sell their booze. I mean, they could maybe do the full bottles, but I mean, to have that extra revenue stream is pretty huge.
Yeah, we definitely were solid, and honestly, in Chicago, the town was amazing. They, people that lived around here were awesome. Like, hey, can we buy gift cards? Can we do this? How do we, they would ask, like, how can we support?
Yeah.
How can we, do whatever? They would tip, buy the single barrels that we had with other distilleries that were out at the time. They would all buy those because it's the first time they could get them, where they wanted them before, So you had to pivot, though. I mean, I remember every morning, 6 a.m., myself and the person that helps with marketing, we would just rack our brains for like, what do we do? How do we do this? You're making these huge menus to go and updating your whole POS systems to do all these different things. It was a crazy grind. Now it's like, it's kind of set up, and it's like, this is what our life is. This is just what's going, it's back to kind of like, this is what your daily life is going to be for the foreseeable future, and let's make the most of it and do the best we can to take care of the guests and have the best experience we can.
Because you don't have a huge patio section.
No, we have 4 tables.
Yeah, that's not a lot.
No, it's not.
But fortunately, you're inside here. It's a huge space, so you're able to social distance pretty well.
We are. I mean, we have. We also built barriers out of pallets. Our guy Carlos has been here from the beginning. He's like a jack of all trades, and everybody in this area knows him. So we have pallet dividers between tables, so it makes it people are really, really safe. We also have the front windows that can open, which when they first opened up the outside, those were considered part of it too. Within 8, so we had we sat 27 when we first were able to open. Now we seat 81. Maybe could we squeeze some more people in, but to me, it's just not worth it. We're playing the cards you're dealt, that's given to us, and you want to do it to the best of your ability, and we want everyone to feel comfortable. We don't want people to be jammed in. We did it 6 feet from every chair, which I know that when you go out, most people did it 6 feet from every table, but we figured comfort was a big thing for people, and we wanted people to trust us and know that we take it seriously. They do. I mean, our staff takes it very seriously. It's a big, big thing for us. We preach that from the beginning, and it shows. I mean, if you look at what people say, and then all the reviews on Google and Yelp, people always mention like extremely COVID friendly, which is that's what we needed.
Great, well, that's good for you guys for stepping up and adapting.
Yeah,
and you also do a lot with some charities, and you have other initiatives.
We do. We donate all of our merch profits to Green City Market, which is nice that people were buying some merch when this first started too. Because a lot of things were sunk costs. But and then we've donated some beer dinners to My Block, My City, My Hood. We have tried to be, as forward as we can. We do a lot for schools and everything like that. Unfortunately, right now we don't. There's not as much to donate, but we try to donate as much as we can when we can. We donate a lot of beer, to as many organizations as we can. But it was really cool to do. The beer dinner that we did donate money to, those were the fastest 2 sold out. So, people came out and said, hey,
support that.
Exactly. So it's really cool. And we love Green City Market. We've been doing it every year. The merch has been a really good program for us and hopefully for them.
So if people want to buy merch from you, where do they go?
Here. We only sell it here. You can buy it online.
Okay.
If it's people email me saying they want it shipped, we can do that. But most of it's you come down and we have it all like in our little retail area with our beers there.
Yeah. And this is nice on this street. There's always not always, but it's decent for parking, so you can come in, grab that, and
absolutely. There's usually parking, and there's some free parking around the corners and stuff. People find. Oh,
that's good. So what about what's next for Forbidden Root? Do you guys have more expansion plans? Obviously right now it's probably not the most exciting time to think about that, but
no, there's nothing in the pipeline. We had some thoughts of maybe doing another one, but right now it's treading water, doing the best we can, getting these places back to where, they need to be in with guests, guest count coming through the door and everything, which we're hoping that they, get back there sooner than later. But I wouldn't, unless there's like a golden opportunity. And unfortunately, that's only going to come as somebody else struggles, and we don't want to see that out of anyone anyway. So, it's hard to say. I would definitely say it's pause for the foreseeable future.
Sure.
But again, we loved doing it. We loved doing the Ohio one. I go to Ohio, 5-6 days a month. I absolutely love it there. Team there. I love being out there. I love our team here, and would love to do another team somewhere at some point. We have we're not going anywhere. So, thankfully to all the people that have supported us, we're very grateful for everyone that does come in all the time. So we're going to make it through this, and maybe, 2 years down the road, we would have another place somewhere. So we'll see.
Great. And so if people want to come support, try this awesome beer, your amazing food, get some merch, website and your address.
It's 1746 West Chicago Avenue, and then the website is just forbiddenroot.com. Follow us on the social medias. That's where we always update all the new beers, all the new dishes, new merch, all that way. That's the best way to find out what we're kind of doing, and we're always trying to make some new fun stuff. I mean, I think we had 3 different new beers this week, so gives people a reason to come out and try some stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Great. Well, Brian, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. It was awesome.
And thank you for hosting us here today.
Thank
Best
you.
luck. Cheers.
If you want to taste Forbidden Root's strawberry basil, their rotating seasonals like Sage Advice, or their duck and dumplings, you can find them at 1746 West Chicago Avenue in Chicago and at 4080 Worth Avenue in Columbus, Ohio. Or you can find them online at forbiddenroot.com or find them on social media. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd really appreciate a like, 5-star rating, and to have you as a subscriber. And follow us on social media at get_tapped. What's on Tap is brought to you by TappedIn. To see how we can help your bar, restaurant, or nightclub, visit gettappedin.io. This episode was hosted and produced by Joe Sheehan, with special guest Sam Bergren of Mississippi River Distilling Company and Brian Krajak, Director of Operations for Forbidden Root Restaurant and Brewery. Our AV technician was Nadine Lomaton, editing by Andrew Rockefeller, voiceover and marketing by Caitlin Cavanaugh. Until next time, cheers.